But the state sovereignty movement is based on some simple principles that Jefferson and Madison introduced, that the federal government cannot be the final judge. All branches of the federal government cannot be the judge, the final judge of the arbiter and boundaries of its power. It can't be. It's a conflict of interest. And that the federal government is an agent of the states, not the other way around. So I'm proud to introduce tonight a three-part plan that we're going to be doing in Washington State and in Idaho and some other states as well, that's going to include nullifying a national health care system at the state level. It's going to include nullifying a cap-and-trade system at the national level. It is going to prohibit the tracking of guns and ammunition in any form. And it is going to restore a sound money system by making the federal government tender payments to the state in gold and silver. And last but not least, if the federal government thinks that it can come down and enforce unconstitutional laws, we're going to introduce what's called the piece of legislation known as Sheriff First, providing a process for sheriffs to arrest and detain those federal agents that come down to enforce those laws that are unconstitutional. And if we don't get a hearing in the state of Washington, there is a grassroots network that has already been created and is moving forward. If it doesn't get a hearing, they're going to introduce initiatives and have the people pass the laws if the legislature can't.
Well, the legislature didn't listen and sent the 10th Amendment sovereignty bills to committee to die. Now it is time for we the people to take matters into our own hands. As a result, we've introduced 8 initiatives. These initiatives will protect your right to use firearms to defend yourself and prevent tracking of guns and ammunition. Create an account to collect federal excise taxes, which can then be withheld if the federal government violates Washington's sovereignty. Ensure that federal officials must go through the sheriff to make arrests and provide a process to arrest federal officials ignoring the U.S. Constitution and Washington state sovereignty. Prevent federal regulation of firearms that are produced solely within the boundaries of Washington state. Prevent any government entity from mandating anyone buy health insurance in Washington. Nullify any federal law which is not accompanied by a statement of which enumerated power grants authority for such law. Ban any form of regulation of non-toxic greenhouse gases in the Evergreen State by the federal or state governments. Prevent federal insurance mandates, such as those proposed in Obamacare, from applying to any Washington plan which does business solely within the borders of this state. We only need to gather roughly 300,000 signatures, and these initiatives go directly to the people. And if the people vote for them, they become the law of the land, despite the loud objections of our out-of-touch governor and legislature. Now, I know what you might be thinking. You introduced 8 initiatives? Are you completely nuts? My answer to that is there is a plan. If we want true change, we need to find a way of imposing the will of the people en masse upon the legislature. The key is to shake up the way we think about initiatives and bring the Wall Street concept of economies of scale to grassroots politics. It takes some time to go to the trouble of getting initiatives printed. Most people, unless they're really enthusiastic about a potential bill, are not going to go to the trouble for just one initiative. However, for the most part, the travel and wait time do not change appreciably if you are doing 1 or 20 initiatives. This is known as a fixed time cost. In contrast, it takes a much shorter amount of time, say a minute per initiative, to sign a petition. This is what is referred to as a variable time cost, and it is relatively insignificant compared to the fixed time costs. Here, you see the results of economies of scale. As you sign more and more initiatives, the time per initiative plummets from roughly half an hour for one initiative to just over 2 minutes per initiative for 19 initiatives. This becomes a much more efficient use of everyone's time. The result is that it is not much more trouble to get the multiple signatures. This is important because the more bills you believe you can get enacted, the more incentive any individual has to participate. This is not just because you get more done. The more bills on the slate, the more chance that one particular issue, maybe it's gun rights, or maybe it's NAIS nullification, for example, will motivate one to get involved. If you have motivation, that hour of time is not going to be that much of a price to pay for the results, and it is a very good chance we get a large number of people to go out and get signatures themselves. To really highlight this, we will use the extreme example. If you thought we were crazy with 8 initiatives in Washington, we have pushed this concept of economies of scale to its limits in Idaho, which will not have another chance to submit legislation to the people until 2012 after this year's election. As a result, we have introduced all of 19 initiatives in Idaho. This includes bills paralleling the Washington initiatives in addition to extra legislation, sound currency bills, health supplement freedom, NAIS nullification, preventing IRS seizures without cause, requiring a president to provide a birth certificate, and so forth. Now tell me, in which state are you personally going to be more motivated to get signatures? And we're only talking 11 more minutes of time for these additional bills. When you compare this to the normal 1 or 2 initiatives usually offered up, it is a no-brainer that people should be more motivated to participate, assuming they believe the entire process is feasible. Now that begs the question, is this really feasible in Washington state? Well, assuming each person in a family can probably get 2 to 4 signatures from their immediate family, you only need 75,000 to 150,000 people statewide exposed to this idea and taking action to get this 300,000 signatures, and that is doable. Now we are providing the resources and the process to streamline this such that it is only roughly an hour of time and less than $10 for any individual to participate. So the question really is, are there 100,000 motivated people in the entire state willing to make such a minimal sacrifice with the opportunity of massive political change? With the power of the internet and word of mouth to bypass the mainstream media, I am wagering going forward with this project that the answer is certainly yes. So let me ask you, are you willing to spend an hour of your time and the price of a meal to get some of your freedoms back and make the politicians in Olympia just cringe? Now here is all that is involved. First, find the nearest copy store. Second, customize a pre-written email and send it to the store. Third, when you are out and about in your car, make a stop down to the copy store to get the copy. Fourth, sign each petition, including the back. Remember, it is only 1 minute per extra petition. Also, as long as you have gone to the trouble of printing out the sheets, carry them around with you for a period of time, and remember to ask anyone you know to sign them. I know you might think politics is a taboo subject, but the majority of citizens in this country are upset with both political parties right now, and there might be one of the initiatives that just might interest that person, even if they disagree completely with the rest. Remember, every signature counts. Fifth, just stuff the petitions in an envelope and mail them to the sponsor. Sixth, we ask you to sign up for the email list and or follow us on Twitter or Facebook, as we intend to be holding regular Freedom Initiative campaigns to keep change going in the right direction every 6 to 12 months. This fall in Washington, we will probably introduce a series of fiscal measures to the legislature, which will provide a viable alternative to the tax increases that they are likely to propose. Finally, please spread the word far and wide. The mainstream media does not want to help us. If you do not spread the word, no one else will. We provide a variety of tools like pre-written emails to assist you to make it as easy as possible. I am convinced this strategy is only limited as our ability to get the message out. So what are you waiting for? Freedom Initiatives go live in Washington on February 12th and in Idaho sometime in early March. We only have until April 30th in Idaho and July 2nd in Washington, so make a commitment now to sign the petitions and help us spread the word as rapidly as possible. Your country is at stake, and we collectively can release an earthquake of political change that shatters the political establishment and old boys networks in Olympia and Boise. You have been asking, what can we do to take back our country? Well, now you know. There are no more excuses.